All right, welcome to another Friday night of Keto Rocks. I'm Jim Hobbs, and to my left or right is Brian, my co-host, my carnivore co-host. I'm going to clarify that now. My carnivore co-host, Brian Damage Forsythe of Kix and Rhino Bucket. And we have Beck back for the second week in a row to finish up his story. I want to give a proper introduction to Nico. Nico, if you don't mind, I took a quote from your page, from your Facebook page, which is, I just want to read this because I think it tells the people a lot about who you are. You quoted and said, "Finding inspiration is easy, but implementation of that inspiration is the hard part. I found it in many things in my life, mostly in the man I used to be. I remember the day I had to use an industrial scale just to get my real weight, tipping the scale at 426 pounds. Wanted to thank all those that bet against me. Thanks for the doubt. Still have a ton of work to do, but living life to the fullest is my goal. Love to all those that bet on me. I won't let you or myself down." And so we're welcome back to the program for the second week in a row for Nico to share his life story with us. Nico Cienfuegos from Central California. So Nico, welcome back.
Hey, thank you guys for having me back.
We received a lot of feedback from your show last week, and how people related to you, felt like they were living in your shoes. And so as we had thought and discussed, your sharing of your story gives inspiration to those who are walking a very similar path as yours. So I think we left off last week with your, I want to say your aunt, great aunt or aunt, telling the story about the difference between living to eat and eating to live.
Yeah, it was my mother-in-law. Yes,
Mother-in-law. Okay.
Yeah. It was just a quote that kind of stuck with me, because it just made me realize that, sometimes, when we gather around food and stuff, I mean, there are people all over the world, that don't see the type of, stuff that we're just available to. I mean, there are countries, where people are starving. Of course, we've all seen those things, and some people just realize, I mean, I realize a lot of people tend to eat with their eyes. It is one of those things that when you gather around food, it's just, you want to put as much down, and when she said that quote to me, it's just like, it hit me because, some people actually just eat to get nourishment, to do the right thing with their bodies and stuff. And some people just live for that gathering and just putting it down. And I realized, I could possibly be one of those people, on both sides of that token. I could be a person who overindulged in all the food, but then again, how could I make that transition to someone who just needed to eat when necessary, and get by with just the basics, and cut things down a little bit, and eliminate certain things that weren't good, or healthy choices. So those are the kind of things. I mean, we all pull inspiration from different parts of our lives, whether it be a TV show, quotes, little things here and there. Certain things tend to stick. And, I'll be the first to tell a lot of people I have a real bad memory loss. I mean, I don't remember a lot of things, but when I commit something to memory, it's because it's stuck with me and it's resonated with me. It's really hit a spot where I try to implement it into my personal life.
No, you said something I think people really need to understand. I can totally relate what you just made that statement. I was somebody who just loved food. My family celebrated around breaking bread together. Someone got a promotion, someone graduated. It was all about food. And I love food. And when you grow up here in the United States, I mean, you're surrounded by fast food restaurants, buffets. From going through school, you're programmed to have food that's really not healthy for you. And then you can't walk into a store that doesn't have, like, if you're a kid, when you're going to the checkout counter, it's just a candy buffet. And then when you go to at least I don't know about in this day and age, but back when I was a child, you'd go to the dentist and then you get a chance to get sugar candy after you're done. Like, they're literally feeding you the thing that's causing you your cavities. And, so you're bombarded by fast food. You're bombarded for food. So when you're a child and a kid growing up in America, it's hard for you to think that there's other people in the world that literally have no food at that moment and are literally just hoping they can eat something to put nourishment in their body so you can get through another 24 hours. So, if you're one of those people who were, I want to just say, programmed to believe that food's just there when you want it and you can eat as much of it as you want, and it's okay, you really have to unprogram yourself from what you grew up in. You have to grow out of that environment, and then you've got to start looking at a bigger picture, both the worldview as well as health view for yourself. And so when you do that, you start making different choices. And just like your mother-in-law says, when you transition from living to eat to eating to live, it's a huge switch that goes off. And now you look at the thing that you used to desire all the time as what was poisoning you and keeping you back from being all that you can be. So I think a lot of people can relate to your story. I know, Brian, you worked at a pizza joint and you said you had pizza all the time, right?
Yeah, I'd make my own little custom pizzas. I'd take a large dough and make a medium-sized pizza and just pile it on, and every day. But I was what, 16 at the time, so I was able to do that.
So Nico, your story really is coming out from what we're all programmed to do, and where a lot of people stay in their whole life. And that's when the diseases start to manifest themselves. When you're 16 years old, you're probably not going to see a disease manifest itself, but you're going to see yourself start to have when you're in your 30s. I remember, talking about quotes. I remember someone told me that from the time you're born to your time you're 30 will determine how your 30 to 60 health wise will go for you. And so for a lot of us, we don't start to wake up. At least I didn't start to wake up until I was way past my 30s. Probably in my 40s is when I started to wake up. And and even now, I get sucked back into bad habits. And I've shared with Brian, I think I shared it on the air, my peanut butter addiction. And just so you guys know, I did not buy peanut butter this time. So I've gone, I think it's been 2 weeks now, no peanut butter. And yeah, thanks, Brian. Yeah, I keep hearing Brian's voice every time I open the refrigerator. So I said, I'm not buying it, but it's an addiction. Look, I'm just coming clean. These are all things that you deal with. And the reality of it is that little change is what has kept me right around the 200. I'm at 198 right now. So I've dropped a couple pounds by doing everything the same, except for having my peanut butter and my chocolate. There's two things I've eliminated in the last 2 weeks. So, and just those slight changes, those changes in my life have made a positive difference for me. So kudos to you, Nico, for making these really tough changes and having the internal fortitude to walk through this regardless of what you're witnessing.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And you said something, pretty powerful there, this because, I've heard a lot of people, they talk about, because of course, being obese, being overweight, I used to walk into restaurants, and just, buffet, and people would just kind of give you the stare. And, but one of the things that, a lot of people don't really attribute is, when you think of food, the terminology can get confusing, because if you think about where I was, 10 years ago with the opioids and everything, it was considered an addiction. Okay. Your body actually gets used to having a certain level of chemical in your body just to function.
Right.
Now, as adults, I tell people all the time, I go, have you ever had that midnight craving for those Jack in the Box tacos or the salty fries from McDonald's, and they go, it's considered a craving. But in all actuality, it's your body telling you, I could really use some of that salt, because it's almost like an addiction. Once you get to that point, your body's letting you know that, I could really go for those salty fries. And it's kind of weird how we don't really consider that food an addiction, but it really is, because like you said, some of the things we struggle to let go of, we always kind of fall back with, we all have our days of indulgence where we're like, I killed it this week, I think I deserve whatever I was craving, 7 days ago, and we have that little setback where the mind just needs to pull us back and have that comfort as far as, what we wanted to have. And I'm guilty of it too. All of us, like I said, I didn't struggle with my weight, since I was a kid, not having those cravings or addictions or wanting to have those indulgences. It's just making those changes so that it's not an everyday occurrence. If we are going to have an indulgence or something like that, make it a rare one. Choose, a cheat day, so to speak, if that's something you needed to do. Because if we continue to do these things at such a high level or high peak, it's like anything else, falling off the wagon. We tend to fall deeper and deeper and deeper into letting that stuff back into our lives. And that's why I really consider that the small changes that I made over the course of the 8 to 10 years really helped me, because the weight continued to stay off. It didn't come up and go down and come up and go down. And I didn't,
Right.
because I know a lot of people that struggle with diets and fads, and they'll do the thing, for, 2 months and just not see the results. But slow and steady really was the mindset for me. I wanted to make sure that the changes I made were prolonged changes, because it is a lifestyle. It's not a fad.
Right.
Whenever we want to do these things, it has to become a lifestyle, because it has to be programmed, reprogrammed. And like you said, from the time that we're kids, I remember being a kid going to my grandmother's house and serving a plate, and they said, hey, make sure you clean that plate, and okay, but, that's what we would do. We'd eat everything there was, and regardless whether you're full or not. And and in seconds, I mean, there was always leftovers, so seconds was always an option.
Right.
So reprogramming a lot of that, and it takes, it takes a lot of willpower to do this, especially to break a chain, and I give kudos to anybody who's ever made changes to what they, eat and stuff like that, because once you start to learn and feed your mind exactly some of the knowledge that it takes, I mean, it's there. It's just, we have to take a lot of control over the situation and admit to some of the things that we're doing wrong.
Sometimes we have to leave the herd in order for us to put ourselves in the best possible position. Talking about, being programmed. If you don't think everybody's having the same cravings that you are, or are programmed to eat the same high fat, high oil food, just, back in my early 20s, I can remember after going clubbing or going to concerts, you could show up, and the smart thing about Taco Bell, which is our fast food tacos out here on the East Coast, you could go to Taco Bell. They're open at 3:00 in the morning. So after everything closed at 2, everybody rushed to taco, and you would show up at your Taco Bell, and there's all your friends. Everybody's at the Taco Bell at the same time. The bars have closed, the concerts are over, and everybody's there chowing down on that greasy, processed taco and burritos, and you're drinking a large Mountain Dew, and and you're like, oh, but we pay a price dearly for that.
Yeah.
But yet, it's tough. I mean, we're not saying this is easy. You're going to have to really go deep inside, because from the time you were born and could watch television or listen to radio or walked out into the world, you've been bombarded with processed food, the fast food, and you cannot watch TV without having a commercial that's showing you a pizza, and then of course they program the kids as you're a child to get a free gift that, that to go to the clowns, go to the King, go visit McDonald's. I mean, or in Wendy's or whatever it is, you're programmed to have cereal because there's a prize in that box. You're programmed to have Cracker Jacks, so there's a prize in that box. Well, the real prize is you being able to walk away from that box and regain your health, or put yourself in a position to be healthy, as opposed to putting yourself in a position for disease.
Right.
Yeah. And Nico, you said something too, is to educate yourself too, and gather the knowledge. That's what keeps me on track. I constantly keep the knowledge coming in, and once you find out what this does to you inside, internally, the junk food and all that stuff, that's what keeps me on track. Because like there's been a couple times where I will have like a sweet craving and I'll be at the store, and I remember I think I related this story one time on here. I was having this horrible, I don't know what it was. I was because I haven't been eating cake or cookies or any of that stuff for a long time, and I had this horrible craving for a piece of carrot cake. And there's a certain supermarket here that has a bakery section that has those little slices in the plastic containers. And I purposely went there. I went there for another thing that I needed that they had, but I knew that they had the carrot cake too. And I took the long way around, went past the bakery, and I stopped and I picked up that carrot cake, and I'm looking at it. I'm thinking, oh, just one time won't hurt. And luckily, I turned the thing over and saw that paragraph of ingredients, and I just started reading them. And I got about halfway through, and I put the thing back down. I go, "No, I'm not doing that to my body," and I just walked the other way. And I still, that craving was still there, just gnawing at me. But because I had the knowledge of what those ingredients actually do to you, I was able to walk away from it.
Yeah, and that's actually, some of the things, that we turn a blind eye to, is because the first thing you learn in nutrition is you learn how to read some of these labels.
Hmm.
And now with, a lot of the stipulations in our country, of course, we have to have a breakdown of as far as what's in this food that we eat, and when I started my journey, way back when, I just basically, being my diabetic, my diabetic self, I needed to educate myself as far as what was a complex sugar, what were things that my body did not process very well. And when I started to read a lot of these labels on some of the things that, I used to have daily or indulge with, one of the things that stood out to me was just how much sugar was packed into these things. I mean, you're talking in a dry product, let's just say that what's every, kid's dream snack right now is probably, since they hit the market, was the hot Cheetos. The hot Cheetos were the big thing over here. Oh, I gotta have the hot Cheetos. They're just delicious. You gotta have them. You know, Once you get past the second or third, late ingredient, as far as what's in the packaging, you go, man, this thing's packed full of high fructose corn syrup, and you're like, why is that stuff in a hot Cheeto? Or certain products that have been around since the 50s and 60s. Like Doritos and stuff like that, it's the 70s. You go, okay, well, Doritos should be the same relatively, right? No, it's a way different product than it was back then, just because some of the stuff that they're putting into that, and it's just packed full of sugar and empty calories. So once I educated myself as far as how to understand what was in food as far as the labeling, it made my choices a little bit more conscious, as far as what I could have or how much of it I could have, because, you know, chips are a lot of people's, thing. I mean, chips are easy to put down. You could probably I know I could at my peak, I could put down a bag, no problem. But once you actually see, depiction of how much, I don't know if you guys ever saw it, but there was one that showed up a few years ago. And what it did was give a breakdown of Starbucks, sodas, basic things that we drink every day. And the little sugar cubes is used to put in your coffee. It would kind of give you like a little picture off to the side and say, okay, this Starbucks coffee has this amount of cubes in it, and you're like, wow, that is a lot of sugar. So when I started to do certain things for my diabetes, those were the things that kind of, stuck out to me the most, was just the sugar content. And it's in everything, so it's really, really, not a huge mystery as to why a lot of kids now are suffering with, sugar addiction, certain things like that. Starbucks, wanting the soda, wanting the power drinks. And I remember for a period of time, my metabolism was pretty shot, and I was just trying to find ways to get out of bed and get motivated. So I would hit the 5-hour energy drinks because, when I started to compare, I was like, well, my thing was always, I want to find the lesser of the two evils.
Right.
So I started looking at the monster drinks and going, okay, this is a lot of fluid, a lot of filler. I mean, everyone has, what they consider to be, something to give them a pep, or step. But for me, I was actually on the 5-hour shots for, I want to say probably a year, and that was daily. And that was, to me, low, the low sugar and all. And it was the less of the two evils until I could actually find a way to naturally start working out, that I didn't need such a caffeine wake up. And And like everything else in my life, I had to learn to wean off of it, slowly but surely. But yeah, there was a time where I had to drink those things every day, and I would go to Costco and buy them by the bulk, and make sure I had my 5-hour shots just to wake up in the morning. And just because my metabolism was at a place that where I couldn't even get motivated. So, a lot of those drinks and stuff, they're really, really packed full of stuff that's unnecessary, but we need them at some point in time or another.
No, I went through that too, and Brian can probably address this better than I can, but I think a lot of it is just habit. Like, I know I used to believe that I couldn't get up in the morning unless I had a cup of coffee. I mean, I wasn't fully awake until I had my first cup of coffee. But that's really has changed for me. I wake up and I'm excited about my day, and my first thing I do is I have a glass of water right beside my bed, and the first thing I do in the morning is I turn around and I grab my cup of water and I just drink my water, and then I go about my day. Now, I do have a cup of coffee in the morning, but I'm telling you, I used to get up and have a whole pot of coffee. And during the afternoon, I had the case of, I was a salesperson. So in my car, I had a case of those 5-hour energy drinks, and I would take one every afternoon to get me through the rest of the day. But I did feel side effects. I started to feel jittery. I started to have heart palpitations. And then when I started to do the research, which is key, what Brian says, is getting the knowledge and then seeing the number of people who have heart attacks or strokes on these energy drinks. But the industry doesn't care about you. I mean, as much as you think they're catering to you, then they infuse vodka, Mountain Dew. Now everybody has energy drinks, so they take the worst of Starbucks and these other carbonated drinks, and then they add the same ingredients they have in the Monster drink to make a Monster drink of your choice. But really, it's not doing your body any good at all.
No, and I think
so
one of the things you can also attach to that is because your body has a real specific way of letting you know when things are working against you. I mean, I remember like I said, playing sports at a young age. Staying hydrated was one of the most important things you could do to your body. And when you tend to use the restroom, your kidneys will let you know when things are coming in a little dirty. So like the Mountain Dews, all the sodas and stuff. Not to get too graphic, but sometimes the waster, the urine, whatever you're gonna do, sometimes it can sound rather heavy. It could do a lot of things. So these are ways that your body's letting hey, whatever you're putting in here, it's not coming out clear. So it is taxing your organs at some point in time or another.
And talk about another thing. I know a lot of people who are not keto or carnivore, they go, well, you don't eat fruits and vegetables. I mean, what's wrong with fruits and vegetables? And everybody's to their own, but what people don't realize, just like you said this earlier, Nico, back in the 40s and 50s, vegetables and fruits that you bought at your local grocery store were literally locally grown, but they've been genetically modified now, and they are nothing more than another delivery system for sugar. I mean, they're just high fructose bombs. And so you're not getting what fruits and vegetables used to be. You're getting the modified fruits and vegetable, which is another way to put sugar in your body. And we wonder why diabetes is at an all-time high. Well, it's because most people can't get away from the ingredient that's causing them their diabetes.
Yeah, because like I said, sugar is just such a enormous byproduct that our country has. I mean, it's in everything, and it's in corn, it's in beets. I mean, I remember, a time where the only sugar you can actually get was from cane. I mean, you just get cane sugar.
Yep.
And that was the most natural way you could get it. I mean, you could actually indulge in it if you wanted to, raw that way, and it was grown. And but now sugar is such a byproduct of so many other things. It's from, we get it from corn, we get it from beets, and it's in everything, every single thing, that's surrounded. And you're right, diabetes is one of those things that in the past 20 years has just taken a hold of a lot of people's lives. And and it's very hard to get away from, because I remember a while back seeing a study that shows what sugar, does to the brain. And, don't quote me on it too much, but it had the same chemical side effect as almost like, heroin or something like that. I mean, it was really, really bizarre as far as what it produces chemically in your brain to give you that high. And, there's, no wonder that, so many people are just stuck on what that sugar what they need to do to just get along their day, an average day.
Yeah, I think I've read a study, and Brian probably can correct me, but I think the study that I read showed that sugar was like 5 times more addictive than heroin. And so it's no wonder that people say, well, I can't give up my bread. I can't give up my cereal. I can't give up this, because they truly are an addict. And while it's illegal in the country to have sugar, doesn't mean that it's the right thing to put in your body. Doesn't mean that it's what you should be doing just because it's legal to do.
Right.
So let's fast forward, Nico. So where are you today? And so I think where are you today health wise? Where is your weight? And the question I think everybody wants to know, did you have the stomach staple surgery? And what was that journey like?
Yeah, so where I'm at today, weight-wise, I'm at 240 pounds. My target goal was 225. I actually did end up opting to do the gastric sleeve. My big problem was, even though I was able to lose a lot of weight naturally, I could never really reverse the diabetic stuff that I was going through. I want to say roughly about 2 years ago, probably around the time, I mean, it seems like I was living with diabetes with really no underlying issues. I mean, vision was good. Didn't have any issues with the bones. My big problem was, at the time, I did realize, my activity level was low. I want to say my metabolism felt like it, I could smell a cookie and probably put on 5 pounds, so at the time that, there wasn't really any serious concerns that I could actually see. And then once I turned 40, I started to realize, a lot of things started to change body wise. I actually, about 41, I was at work, and mind you, I've always had problems with my feet, being diabetic and having neuropathy. So I actually ended up working one day at work, and I felt my shoe was kind of swollen on the right side, and I was like, man, I wonder what happened there. And I think we talked about this a while back. I actually did not know that I had broken several bones in my foot and dislocated a major bone.
Right.
And I just didn't feel it at all. And also started to lose vision in my right eye. So, I mean, this happened within a matter of months. Here I am living with uncontrolled diabetes for more than 10 years. And as soon as 40 hits, I started to see some really, really significant changes. So when I started to talk about trying to reverse this, I mean, I always knew that surgery for me, because even being diabetic, surgery is a last option, because I've seen people who have done this surgery. Some people take it. Sorry about that, guys. I got a call. I've seen people do this surgery and take it, not seriously, and being diabetic and not taking the healing process seriously. And they have problems, and problems with healing, problems with stitching. Surgery is never a cure-all. It always has to be a last resort if that's, what it takes. And for my particular case, I knew that this surgery was going to actually help arrest my diabetes before it progressed anymore. It took me almost 2 years for my foot to heal, and it still hasn't healed completely. So these are all side effects that I've been dealing with as far as the diabetes was concerned. So in December, I opted to do the gastric sleeve, which is basically when they cut your stomach down to about 6 to 8 ounce pouch. And the one they always recommend for people who are diabetic is the Roux-en-Y, where they basically bypass the stomach and go into the lower intestine, because the problem with diabetics is when they eat food, it basically breaks down and they can't make enough insulin for the sugar that they absorb. So what the bypass essentially does is it basically bypasses the stomach so that you don't break it down into sugars, and it just, it doesn't get. But another thing you deal with that side effect wise is malnourishment, because you're not also getting the vitamin side of it. So when I did my research as far as what surgery was going to work for me, I chose the sleeve because my problem has always just been portion control.
Right.
Even though I was doing, the veggies, or even the keto or the carnivore, my problem was always the portion I consumed, and I remember a dietitian telling me, you're eating enough chicken to feed a family of 4. And I said, I know. I was like, but I could either eat enough bread for a family of 4, or I can do the chicken. I was like, so I've always tried to, pick the lesser of the two. And that was just my personal approach to all of it, so when I started to do my research and break it down, I realized, that my big problem was portion control, and also this thing called the hunger hormone. The hunger hormone is basically when your stomach's always telling you, that, hey, I'm hungry, put something down here. So when I started to do the research and actually attend the seminars, to find out what the sleeve would do for me, doing the portion control, I knew in my mind would help with the diabetic factor, and also controlling the hunger hormone. Those two things right there were enough for me to decide that I wanted to move forward with this process. And I want to say, probably 2 weeks post-op, because after the gastric sleeve, you're on a real basic liquid, clear, for about a week. And then the secondary week, you're on, applesauce consistency foods, no sugars, just basic foods. So just that transition for me in 2 weeks, my diabetes essentially started to regulate. I was waking up with, no, I wasn't taking insulin anymore, because I figured if I was on insulin shots probably 3 to 4 times a day.
Wow.
And yeah. And the thing is, at the time, I had not known, because I've always struggled with my diabetes, that I may have even had some type of insulin resistance. So there was a ton of things that was going on with me. I mean, I was bombarding my body with pharmaceuticals, insulins. I had taken, different types of diabetes control medication over the years that give me kidney issues. So I said, you know what? After my surgery, I'm just going to go ahead and clean slate and just see how my body reacts to it. And I was pretty lucky and fortunate that, my diabetes did regulate. And since my surgery date in December, my fasting numbers have been within the norm. I haven't had, the elevated numbers, and I don't take insulin. I still have a pack of my insulin pre-filled needles in the refrigerator, where it's kind of like a little reminder for me that, I hated, taking shots every day. I hated the maintenance of it. So, I knew in my mind, if I didn't find a way to control this diabetes, eventually it was going to kill me, because I'm a guy who works with his hands. I built cars my whole life, worked with my brothers, sustained ton of injuries. We're talking, sharp metal, jagged things. And when you're diabetic, a blister can change your life. And having problems with my feet forever, I knew there was that possibility. So, rewinding back to when my dad was sick, I remember there was a time a doctor told me, we might have to cut a couple of these toes off, and all the things that I've heard since I was a kid, my mom's grandmother, my great grandmother, I remember her telling me, that by the time they stopped, and she passed away, she was pretty much a torso. It started with body limbs, feet, up to the knees, then progressed. And when you see and you hear that, what something can do, I mean, and not make the changes, it's almost like someone's giving you the information, and you have to let that sink in, because it is inevitable. I mean, and I have friends that are, nowadays, they've had, problems with their feet, and these guys, they're not big guys like I was, but they still struggle with diabetes, and they've had some toes removed and progressively moved up their feet. And I think that little things like that happen in life for a reason. I mean, there are signs, and we have to we have to really let that sink in, because I don't ever want my son or anyone in my family to see me deteriorate like that. So those were the things that motivated me, to just change a lot about my culture, my background, to see, even though I can't change the past, moving forward, I want to take control of what I can. So
No, I think
that,
you're a great, I think you're a great inspiration, Nico, and I'm sure you're impacting your children, your family, and friends around you. Um, you know, I've seen so many people in my lifetime who still could not break free from the programming and have had their limbs removed, their legs removed, and yet they still crave the sugar and they still eat the cookies, and they cannot break free from that programming. And your story and hearing what Brian does, I think it's an inspiration. When we pick up, I mean, it literally comes down to this, and you got to do this on your own. You got to come to terms with this. You got to pick up that carrot cake and that sleeve and look at those ingredients and say, do I want to put this poison in my body that 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 5 minutes from now could cause me to be an amputee, or cause me to have a heart attack or a stroke, or numerous things that comes with having with obesity and diabetes and kidney issues and all these different things. And you got to say, am I going to win, or am I going to let this food win? Because you're going to pay a very steep price. I'm not naive. We all are going to cross over at some point. But the question is, do you want to cross over on your terms and cross over in the best health you can be? Or do you want to let the programmers of the world program you with the food that you're going to eat, with the medical care you're going to receive, with the number of insulin shots you're going to have to give yourself, all because you haven't unprogrammed yourself from saying no to that addictive substance known as sugar?
yeah,
and
and
so,
it is tough.
yeah, I mean, and while there's many detox facilities for those who are addicted to alcohol or drugs to get you off that, I don't know of any detox houses for sugar. Maybe Brian, maybe you're aware of them, but I don't. There should be, because that's just as dangerous.
Yeah, that's true.
People talk about they get together in help groups for people who are addicted to alcohol or drugs, but no one talks about the people who they're fellowshipping with who are addicted to food. And there's like Weight Watchers and there's some support groups about diets, but they're not diving into the real issues. The real issue is what you're hearing today. The real issue is Nico had to make a decision. He had to educate himself. He came to the point, well, I've gone as far as I can go on base of what I know to make sure that I'm going to be okay and to give myself the best shot of living a life that's going to let me be able to do activities with my kids and my family and friends and to continue my career as a mechanic. I'm going to need to get this stomach sleeve. I'm going to need to have this procedure done so that I can be around. And so, you have to do what you got to do. What I hear from Nico is, Nico says, I'm going to do whatever it takes in order to put myself in the best position to be around for my family. And I think we each have that ability to do that each day. The question is, are you going to do it? And first of all, you got to stand in front of that mirror. You got to look at yourself and you got to say, enough's enough. I'm tired of hurting. I'm tired of not knowing that my foot's broken. I'm tired of the fact that I got a wound that won't heal. I'm tired of me taking these insulin shots or having an insulin pump put on me. Those are the things that you have control of. And so I'm begging you out there to please look into the Keto Carnivore Lifestyle and just read the research on people. Don't read, and I say research, I'm talking about people who are truly living that lifestyle, who are doing it. And there's plenty. You can go to Dr. Ken Berry's page and see numerous people who have overcome diabetes. There's numerous other sites out there where you can see people who have overcome type 2 diabetes just by changing what they are putting in their bodies. And so it's such a life-changing experience. And the fact that Nico is willing to come on here and other people come on here and share their experience, don't let that go to waste. Listen to it, watch it over again, and then be honest with yourself. and ask yourself, is eating a cupcake worth you losing a leg or a foot or a hand or a toe or a finger? Ask yourself, because that's really what you're doing. That's the reality. That's where the rubber meets the road. Are you willing to lose a limb so you can satisfy that craving of the moment for a Hostess cupcake?
Yep.
No,
So,
yeah, and that's very powerful, because I mean, as you said before, there are all these institutions that are there to help people with things like drug addiction and alcohol. But the fact of the matter is, the addiction that is food and sugar is just as out of control as anything I've ever seen. And because eventually they all do the same thing. They take your life. It takes control. And we look at people, I know I have, that struggle with alcohol, and it seems like such a basic function that why can't you stop? But one of the things that I found worked for me is I needed to hold myself 100% accountable for everything. And that's something that I think a lot of people do not do. There was no one's fault that I was the way I was. There were certain things that attributed to it, but I actually would draw inspiration from little things. I remember watching shows like My 600-Pound Life, and I remember seeing an individual here in my hometown, being on one of those electric wheelchairs, and just have their body basically plopped on this wheelchair because they're so immobile. They can't get around by themselves. They have to have, this wheelchair just to go through the store. And I remember asking myself, how does it get to that point? And the truth is, it does not happen overnight. We all make choices and lifestyles, and indulge in the things that we want to. And then one day we look back and we see what's happened, and it didn't happen overnight. And that accountability for me was enough to say, you know what, this is enough. I don't want to live this life. I don't want to be to the point where I'm actually, dependent on a motorized vehicle. And God only knows what someone in that position, because I know what I felt when I used to walk into a restaurant and all eyes were on me. Like,
right.
there's certain things that people don't realize what an obese person goes through. I remember, friends asking us, hey, you guys want to go out for dinner? And I would have to do what I call recon. I'd have to go check the restaurant to make sure that the chairs are actually what I called fat boy certified, and to make sure that, they wouldn't collapse under my weight. To make sure that if the sides of the chairs would actually allow me to fit in it, and I would actually be able to get up without it sticking to my spare tire. I mean, these are all things that mentally plague somebody who's overweight. And I got to the point where I didn't want to be that person in the room. I really just wanted to make those changes so that I can be as normal as possible, and just for myself, and know that, I made changes, because it was so hard for my dad to do these basic things, because he was a person who was very stuck in his, rituals as far as food. And my dad was not an obese guy, but some of the things that, plagued him, a lot of it was, just some of the food choices that he did make, that he was not able to eat a healthier lifestyle. So when I seen those
Right.
kind of things and what people struggle with, I wanted to make that my determination to show people that it is possible, especially myself, because as you guys said, it's not making those changes, it's the decision to make those changes. That's the hardest thing you'll do, because we will make excuses forever as far as why we are the way we are, why we continue to do the things we do. And holding yourself accountable, that's day one. Once you get to that level and you set your mind to a goal and you say, you know what, I'm done and I'm tired, I don't want to be chopped up piece at a time. Because once I get to that point, am I really a benefit to the people around me? I mean, if I just become another person who's dependent on help, I'm gonna feel like the outcast. I'm gonna feel like the person who can't do the day-to-day things. And then you hit a
Right.
level of depression, and just, I mean, so many other things come along with it. I
Right.
just,
I remember saying a long time ago that I heard, it stuck with me, is you don't wait till you're thirsty to dig a well. And the reality of it is it's not going to happen overnight. Just because today you're eating clean, you're eating a carnivore style lifestyle, you're not going to all of a sudden be healthy. It's taking you years to get to where you are, and it's going to take some time for your body to cleanse itself of those toxins and for you to break free from those bad habits. But every day that you're able to do that, you've empowered yourself to do it another day. Once you know it's possible, then you can make the possible normal. And it's people like you, Nico, who come on and share, and Brian his life has touched so many people around the world just by living his life, not by going out there and running commercials to come to his shop to take an insulin shot. It's living his life, which just speaks volumes, and his energy that he has, his vitality, and he shares the secret. The secret is within all of us. It's your decisions. And so Brian makes smart decisions, and he shares the ones that he's contemplating that are not going to be good, like the carrot cake thing. But those are the struggles that we all go through. So Nico, I just want to say it's been an honor to have you on for 2 weeks and sharing your life with us. And I think the story that you've shared is going to inspire a lot of other people. Brian, do you have any questions for Nico? Any other questions?
I can't think of anything offhand, but I'm just fascinated. Your journey is just, hopefully a lot of people will see this and it'll inspire some people.
So
No, I appreciate it, guys. And like I said, we all have a story to write. I'm hoping that, I have many more chapters to mine. I'm never done, doing work. I feel like I've been given a second opportunity at life, especially with some of the things, the choices I've been making. And, none of us really know what's around the next corner. But, as you guys said, I'd like to choose how I go out. And I definitely want to go out with my boots on. I don't want to be a person, who's succumbed to, a lot of the things around and just like any other disease, when you think about alcoholism, you think about people that struggle with that, when they decide to go sober and live a life of sobriety, it's every day, one day at a time. And that's the way I approach this. It's every day, if I can get past today and make the right choices, as I get further and further down the line, hopefully those choices aren't as drastic, they're easily made, but it is a struggle every day, and it's not easy, but it is very doable. And I remember my high school coach, if you guys ever want to hear a story of inspiration, my high school coach was born with no hands. And my high school coach, Mark Speckman, he's always been a source of inspiration for me just growing up. I mean, this guy did amazing things with the football program here in my small town. And he would always tell us, he would always say, if it was easy, everyone would do it, and he brought out a lot, as far as, what I needed to get to this point in my journey, those life lessons, that I had pushed down so long. And so, over the course of my 20s and 30s, they stuck with me. And, but I did silence them for a while, but finding that inspiration to do it all over again, I mean, here's a guy with no hands, and he played football at a high level, went to college, coached and still coaching. And if a guy like that, wakes up every day and says, you know what, it's not a big deal, we can all do something.
Amen. Amen. Well, Nico, it's been great to have you on the show. All right. It's this time of the night where we get a chance to hear from Brian Shanker from his YouTube Meat Tribe and giving us the meat deals of the week. So, Brian, what do you got for us this week?
Hey, guys. So the first one from Food Lion, they've got choice grade bone-in T-bone steaks for $6.99 a pound. I'm probably going to head over there at some point today and grab some of those. And that deal runs through May 11th. Harris Teeter, my favorite, turning out to be my favorite store as far as deals go. They've always got something. I haven't caught any prime deals yet. I'm going to head down there and talk to the meat manager or whoever and find out when those prime deals are going to go on sale. But we've got some choice, what they call reserve Angus beef, tenderloin, filet mignon steak, or roasts for $14.99 a pound. And that's a $5 savings that goes through May 11th. Harris Teeter also has a choice grade boneless reserve Angus beef skirt steak. I reported about that last week. The skirt steak for the fajitas. Today's Cinco de Mayo,
yes,
where we're recording this. So yeah, you still got time to go out and get that. And that's at $6.99 a pound with a $3 per pound savings through May 11th. The next two deals are both choice grade. They're from Giant Eagle and they run through May 12th. The first one is the Market District Bottom Round Value Pack steaks or roasts at $4.99 a pound. And they've also got some choice grade boneless ribeye Delmonico steaks for $11.99 a pound. So pretty good deals going on. And I wanted to, Jim, I wanted to bring up, first I wanted to ask you, did you go out and buy a ton of ground beef last week with all those ground beef deals?
I did. I bought every single package they had at my Giant. I certainly did. So thank
Nice.
you very much for sharing that. I did take advantage of it.
Sure. So since you guys are all about keto and carnivore, last time I had mentioned that I use the meat that I get, the ground beef from Walmart that's at 23% fat for a dirty rice recipe. And I wanted to clarify that it's not actually rice. It's keto friendly, this recipe. It's cauliflower rice. So if anybody wants that recipe, they can hit me up.
Do you have it posted on your channel?
Not yet, but I will. With this week's update, I'll do that. So for everybody, if they haven't gone yet, be sure to head over to my YouTube channel. It's called Meat Tribe to see the full weekly meat deal update. So I just give you a little bit of a taste here on the Keto Rocks Radio, and the rest of the update, a lot more deals. Meat Tribe is all one word, no spaces. And when you get there, please be sure to like the videos, subscribe, and click on the bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. And if you come across any deals of your own, please, feel free to put them down in the comments section and I can check them out.
Now, I know a lot of you people are hearing these prices and you're going, man, it's so expensive. I'm hearing these prices and it don't sound like a deal to me. So just for those people who are having those thoughts in your head, Brian and I next week are going to do a show on eating keto carnivore meals for less than $5 a meal. So just so you know, we're going to show you that it's possible. Brian's smiling already because but we're going to challenge ourselves to sit there and show you meals that are less than $5. So you can literally go stop with the belief that keto carnivore is so expensive. And even at the prices that Brian is sharing with us, those prices are not bad considering. Remember, for most of us, we're eating just one meal a day. And we're not buying vegetables that go bad in our refrigerator or buying more than we should have. We're literally eating what we are cooking and what we are purchasing. So overall, it's a lot less expensive than you would think. So Brian, thanks for coming on the show and sharing. And everybody, please go to his channel. Please subscribe to Meat Tribe on his YouTube channel and give him a thumbs up. And also share with him what deals you're finding in your area, your parts of the country.
That would be great. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Take care, Brian.
See ya.
Brian, what bit of advice would you give people who are turning in for the first time? What bit of advice would you want to give them today?
I would say eat your meat.
Absolutely. And we just want to wish it's Mother's Day weekend. So everybody who's got a mom out there, happy Mother's Day. We hope you guys enjoy it. Stay well, stay safe, stay out of the hospital. And we will be honored to see you guys next Friday at the same time, same place. Brian, you guys got a show tonight.
Yes.
At the drive-in. So enjoy that. And you guys are playing tomorrow night as well?
Yes, right outside of Baltimore.
All right. And Nico, you're on Facebook, correct, Nico?
Yes, I am.
If people want to reach out to you, can they send you a friend request on Facebook?
Absolutely. I mean, everything's out there in the open. I have, arms wide open. If anyone ever needs anything, even someone to talk to about, this particular journey, I'm all ears, so anything.
Awesome. And if anybody wants to share their story or this program inspired them, Nico's story inspired them, please send us an email at ketorocks22@gmail.com. and we'll make sure Nico gets it. And if you got a story to share too, we're going to welcome that as well, because it's making those small decisions and then walking that out and then sharing that testimony. And because people don't get a chance, people see Nico now, but they don't know the story behind Nico. So to hear the story behind Nico now is very powerful. It gives people who are back where Nico was on those mile markers the inspiration to continue down that highway. So thanks again, Nico, and we'll see everybody next Friday.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate it, guys. Stay well.
Loud. And we are recording. Hey, before you get recorded, what's that mug? You got a big mug this time, Brian. I saw your coffee mug. It's different than your normal coffee mugs. That's like a gym size coffee mug.
Yeah, this is one that who was it? Maria sent it to me. It's got Maria and Joan and
Oh, that's awesome.
and Mitch Malloy.
That's awesome. That's a big, that's a bigger than usual coffee cup I see you with.
Yeah. It's the one that's got a lid. It's like a travel cup.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, guys, let's get rolling here.